welcome to Pursue the Pool, the podcast that is geared towards helping people who are looking for a career change, or for those of you who want to pursue your dreams and start your own business. So how do we differ from all of the other inspirational podcasts out there? Well, what we do is we interview people from a range of industries. So if you're interested in setting up your own restaurant or marketing agency or floristry, whatever it might be, we have someone specific from that industry to tell you exactly where and how to start, the highs and lows, and most importantly, the truth. Now, we are one group, one community, and we have all of the answers. And I am your host, Stacey Bevan, and today I have an amazing guest. I am joined with Katherine, who is the founder of a wellness company, Beautifully Nourished. So first of all, thank you for joining us, Katherine. We're so excited for you to be here.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to today.
Yes, so am I. So before we go into the questions that have been devised by our audience, I just want to give a bit of background into you and what it is that you actually do. Okay, so you had a love for the biological sciences, which led you to pursue your studies in nutrition. It was during your time at university studying for your nutrition degree that you began to philosophize wellness and consider how you could truly make a difference in both your own life and the lives of others. You then became conscious of your lifestyle choices and became more aware just how powerful and impactful nutritional choices can have upon our health, mind, outer life, and well-being. After graduation, you packed your bags and you headed for life-changing work in Kentucky in the USA, working for a global biotech company. And then upon returning to the UK, you discovered new profound scientific insight and knowledge on personalised nutrition, which could help women all around the globe in their quest for improved health and well-being. And then you actually started your professional career developing nutritional food products for a number of multinational food corporations as a consultant. And at the same time, you also worked on your passion project, which was creating your own supplement and skincare formulations to nourish the body inside and out. Now, in 2020, you proudly launched Beautifully Nourished, encouraging people globally to embrace who they are, what they have, and what they want. And now you offer a range of food supplements and cruelty-free skincare, beautifully nourished formulations, which are created from natural and organic nutritional blend. Sorry, that was a bit of a mouthful. Nutritional blends to assist with achieving personal health and beauty desires. The products are never tested on animals or filled with any chemicals, parabens, fillers, or additives. And then these ingredients are precisely dosed for maximum results to free the mind, body, and soul. I'm sorry, there was a few mistakes there. There was a bit of a mouthful, but we got through it.
That was great.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go straight into the questions, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
And I'll start with the first question. So, it seems like you knew what your passion was for a long time, but can you just give us a bit of insight into your background and kind of what you did before you went into this, and how did you transition from the employment side to your business? And did you just leave or did you have a plan? So give us a bit of background and tell us how this all came about.
Okay, if I take it like right back, let's say even school days, essentially, not many people know exactly what they want to do way back when, but what we all have is kind of that sense of what we love. And my advice is always just to follow that step by step and see where that kind of leads. So I loved like the body and biology. So I started studying that. And then that took me to nutrition and seeing how the ways in which nutrition can completely change that the body expresses itself, how you feel, how you look, everything. So I went to uni and that's what I studied about 10 years ago. And I always kind of sensed that I wanted to have my own company. Even when I didn't know what that was going to look like, I just knew that was at one point going to happen. And it's always been such a strong, not like alarm, but a strong, like knowing, full knowing coming from somewhere deep inside that is the path. So, you just have to trust that. When all the other noise is going on, you just trust that and go with it and see what flows. So before I launched Beautifully Nourished, obviously you need to train in what you love and master it really well. I think that's really important, and everyone will have their own different niches, and you can study you don't have to do it academically. There's so many different ways to learn, and I always say, like, learn, unlearn, and then relearn, because you constantly evolve and grow as you're going down whatever path you're on. So my personal story is, after uni, I went over to Kentucky, USA, and I was working in a nutrigenomics lab, and that basically looks at exactly how the nutritional ingredients that we're intaking change the way that our genetics express themselves. And it was fascinating. It was completely fascinating. And it was kind of there that I started to think, okay, this is, to see it on that level of cellular, I was like, there's something like so profound here that I really want to understand more. And whilst I have the lab-based training, I'd say much more commercial. I really like being around people. So I knew it probably my time wouldn't necessarily be remaining in the lab. And then I also wanted to explore my business side of things. So I went back to uni to study business and marketing. And then it was just after that I got a contract at Sainsbury's head office in London. And that's where I trained as a product developer. And that was an amazing shift, because it really taught me how to I knew kind of at that point the range that I wanted to launch, but I didn't really know how to do it.
Okay.
But when you're developing a product, albeit a product or a service, there is like a really set path you can follow. It's almost copy and paste. And once you know that, you can really launch anything that's in your brain. So if anyone's ever got any questions on exactly how to do that, no problem, ask away. So at Sainsbury's, I learned how to develop products. And because I always knew that I was going to launch a vitamin supplement company, I was always really considerate that I was never working directly with another supplement company in terms of compete clauses. So I always stayed in food. So after that initial training at Sainsbury's, I set up as a consultant and started just doing different projects, designing different products or product ranges or product collections, and even brands for different retailers, manufacturers, and food companies, both here, I'm based in the UK, and globally as well. And I absolutely loved it. But it was intense. It was intense, especially when I knew that I wanted to launch Beautifully Nourished, and that was being worked on in the background. So that was like the initial period of just intenseness that you can't sustain for too long. And then it was 2019 that I took my last contract, walked away from consulting, and set up Beautifully Nourished officially.
Wow, that's amazing. And did you need any money to set up the company?
Yeah, so I self-funded in the beginning, and we'll touch on finance because there's many different ways to finance, because that can be one of the major barriers to beginning, because not only do you need to obviously support yourself, you need to be able to, there's lots of costs involved with setting up a company. So there's different options. So I self-funded through my consulting. Basically, that was just reinvested into the brand. If you there's really lots of ways to do it. The obvious known ways is that people can look for an investor.
Yeah.
And that's obviously sometimes, many times that's seen as like the gold standards that you want to do. I always say take that with a pinch of salt, because there are other options available to you. And remember, once you have an investor, you are tied to that person. So you need to really make sure that they're a perfect fit for you, and that it's not just exciting when things are going well, but that's going to be a person that's going to be there to support you when things get rocky. And also, you don't want to completely, as soon as you start introducing investors who typically want a board, you'll get lots of red tape around you, which might slow you down in the beginning phases. And that advice is not for everyone. It's really specific to who's doing what. But just to say that there are other financial ways that you can launch a product, a service. You can do pre-launches. There's other ways to fund. But finance will come in even if someone starts with with cash, let's say someone set up their company. If you're looking to scale a company, albeit product or service, at some point, finance is going to play into it.
Yeah.
Because whenever you take that initial jump, you are where you are. And even if that's a fantastic line, you need to scale that. So there's always going to be little question marks, but that's half the fun of being an entrepreneur. That's when it falls to you to figure out those little question marks.
Yeah.
And go from there.
So did you have, when you made that full transition, because you seem so confident, I mean, did you have any fear at that point when you were doing that transition to starting your own business?
Of course, I feel fear all the time, but I realize that whenever let's say there's love, there's always an opposite of that. If you have a love for something, there will be the fear of losing it. That can be a situation, people. And I heard something that a bit off topic, but the fear in life isn't really that we're scared of dying or death. It's the fear of being separated from the people that we love, the situations that we love. Is that fear? So there's always that nagging fear, being like, oh, and that I feel, just to assure anyone, even that's starting out from baseline, or even if they're so at the front of their game and in their industry, everybody feels that. We all feel that. So what I really suggest here is that you really need to embed a practice which focuses on the belief that and it only needs to like override it. Let's say like 51% trust in yourself and 49% even the fear. But fear is going to be there. We can't pretend it isn't. It will always be there, as well as other feelings, but they are just that. But if you just focus on, step by step, and the belief that you can kind of see the point that you want to go to and focus so much on that, you're going to get there. No.
Great. And how did you actually get your first client for your business? Because I know you were consulting before, so you were already in the industry, but how did you get that first client?
Okay, so I kind of knew the way that I wanted to do it. Again, this won't be specific for everyone, but I knew when you started out, let's say you're going to launch a product, and I'll speak about services as well, just to be inclusive of everyone. But in this specific situation, I'll focus on product. So before you launch, you really want to know where in the market that you want to sit. There's lots of different strategies you can go down. You can make your product a lower price range and go for volumes to get that scale, and that can be your way. Or you can go for the more higher end, like premium positioning, where your price point's higher but sales are going to be lower. Once you've launched the brand, positioning is really hard to change once it's set. So at the beginning point, I suggest really defining exactly where you want to be, and that will look different for everyone. For me, I want to build a brand that's really lasting and that people can trust. It's accessible for everyone, but it's also really nice to use. It's like got a sense of luxury without having that unattainable price tag to it. So I wanted to be really careful and mindful is probably the word, of who we partnered with in the beginning. And I always say to the team, my partners, that we're not in a rush. We just want to do it right and build something that's going to last. Not just here for a few years. We want to be here in 10 plus years. That's our personal strategy. There'll be lots of different ways people do business as well. Some people go into business to grow it and then sell it. Mine's a little more long term. It's my baby. I want to be in it for always. So we partnered initially in the UK. We launched exclusively with Selfridges. And to get that, I really suggest it. It was there's different ways you can go. You can approach buyers directly, and that is going to take you a lot of time. It's also really worthwhile doing that. I say buyers, they have a lot going on, so be mindful of them as well. Their inbox is going to be completely full. They have so much work, especially because when I was a product developer, I worked really closely with the buyers, and they can be tough cookies. So don't take it personally. Don't get disheartened. But their mind's busy. So you need to find a way. I always say to make their life a bit easier.
Okay.
Come with them with solutions and all the rest of it. But the other option I suggest is in every single market, there'll be find a partner. So I've got a partner here in the UK who distributes to like the luxury retailers.
Okay.
And because they know and trust her so much, and because she's really careful with the products that she chooses, it's great to find someone like that to introduce you to different companies. And the platform where I found her, um, not a plug, not affiliated, I just think they're fantastic, is a company called Product Guru. So if you have a product that you want to sell into retail, I really suggest people check that out because they have lots of different categories from beauty to health and wellness to food, lots of other non-edible,
Yeah.
it's really great. And basically you register and you get the chance to present. And I say that's what you want to go for. You want to go for that chance to present your product because then they can see you, get to know you, hear you're not just on an email.
Yeah.
That's where I initially got introduced to Selfridges, and then it went from there. And then from there, we launched into John Bell Croydon here in the UK, and then Douglas in Europe. And we're just preparing to go into America now. And that's what's taken up quite a bit of time at the moment. But hopefully we'll have launched there if all goes well, God willing, by August.
And have you had to face any major challenges, and how did you overcome them? You have any challenges while you've been doing this business?
Yeah, so there's challenges every single day. And I'd say the biggest challenge is to keep your mind right.
Mm.
Right, it's probably not the right word, but mind.
And motivation, I
Yeah, I
suppose.
would say my number one advice to everyone is prioritize your own wellness above and beyond anything else because that is what is going to sustain you. There's like I say two energies within us all, okay? And sometimes we use, and I think in life up to date, a lot of it's been focused on that achieving, the doing, the graft, okay? And that's just one side of it. There's also another side, which is like more being, resting, wellness, going into yourself, giving yourself time. Resting is everything. And
Yeah.
it's and that rest space is actually what holds all else. So if you're exhausted, you're not gonna be able to do what you want to do. So I always say look after your own wellness, because then you're at your best but to look after others as well. I heard a quote once and it was fill your own saucer, no, fill your own cup and let others drink from your saucer. Basically saying
Mm.
people benefit the most from you when you yourself are looking after yourself. It's just a natural knock-on effect. And also when people see that, it encourages them to do the same. The main challenge I would say is there's a lot of set ways of doing things, especially in business.
Mhm.
The 9 to 5, and I think that's slowly changing, especially as a female entrepreneur, let's say.
Yeah.
So my vision is to do things a bit differently. And the way that I work individually is I also take my menstrual cycle into consideration, just because I know when I'm going to be most energetic,
Yeah.
most productive, and also when I'm not feeling it. And those periods of creativity when I am energetic are fantastic. And when that strikes, I run with it. Also, when I'm not feeling it, don't force yourself to do that. There's a reason why we're so circular, and both are so important and linked. So one of the main challenges is having confidence in that new vision when so much of what's around is kind of the old school way.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And do you have anything that you do for inspiration? Like, are there any videos, or do you have a mentor, or where do you get your inspiration from?
Oh, I get inspiration from all around. I love to read. I really do. One of my favorite books is The Untethered Soul by
Okay.
Michael Seal. I really like it, so I recommend that book.
Mm.
And I just take inspiration from all over. Mostly, if I'm completely honest, from nature. I highly recommend people to just get out, even for a walk, without headphones, and observe what's going on naturally in nature, in which we are all very much a part of. And it's gonna not only you're gonna observe things, but it's also gonna give you a spark in your own brain of sudden inspiration that sometimes seems like it comes from nowhere, but you just need to get quiet enough to listen. And I really love obviously meeting new people from all walks of life and learning just to see how people interact, all the different styles, all different people, how we all come together, how we all connect, and how we're all very much linked.
Yeah. And I just want to go back a little bit, because you said you knew that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, but you didn't know what you wanted to do. How did
Yeah,
you, because this is such a unique area, like how did you identify that passion,
yeah.
that was what you wanted to do? Where did that come about and when, like at what point?
Yeah, so I remember even as a teen, I was saying to people that I'm going to have my own company.
Yeah.
Just knew that. And people would say, oh, awesome, doing what? It's like, I don't know. Not sure. So that's when it comes in that the two things kind of merge. And it's really obvious now when I look back, when I saw what I loved and I knew what I wanted to do. But at that, like, I think like 14, those like dots hadn't quite connected themselves. So I just went step by step on what I was enjoying. Like, really, it's almost like follow the breadcrumbs right in front of you. And it's not like I'm 33 now, and I knew this decades ago. So
Mm.
it's really not something that's just, and I say to people, this is an entrepreneurial Cinderella. It's not all, things don't just happen like that. It takes time. It
Yeah.
really does, a commitment to your vision and also yourself. You have to get through those, exactly as we've spoken about, those challenges which will crop up all along the way, and usually when you run into a major challenge, that's what I always call like the pain point, the pressure point.
Yeah.
But if you like, even in your own lives, like if you look, whenever there's been like that really big pressure point, what usually comes after that is something quite blissful. And I always sense that when you're at that point, it's because you're about to go into a new, people sometimes say level up. I don't really love that phrase, but essentially you evolve continuously. That never ends ever.
Yeah. And so for those at home, if you had to, so this is kind of a two-part question, but what advice would you give to people who want to start their own company, first of all? So want to come out of permanent employment and want to start their own business. What advice would you give to people? Because there's a lot of fear surrounding this area, a lot of self-doubt and everything. So what advice would you give?
Mhm. So there's once that I'd have just answered that straight away, saying just go for it. I want to expand on that more because obviously that is what I think. I
Yeah.
first want to acknowledge the fear that we're all in. That is a scary jump, and also that is what we have in. When I say all, societally, that's what the kind of messaging that this is what security is and this is how to do it. I like to challenge that. I know it's what we've learned, but I also think that as individuals, we are all very capable. And a personal feeling that I have is that the current landscape of things is going to change. I think we're going to have more and more entrepreneurs, and and people can panic. Well, what if there's too many of us? That's not the case. Life is unlimited. There's plenty for everyone. Your services are valid. Your products are valid. You've got to have your people that really need what you're offering. They're just waiting for you to give it, to deliver it, to speak your truth. When you speak your truth or live your truth, everybody benefits. Everybody. I think it's so important. So if you've got this thing, like deep desire inside of you, but you're holding it to yourself, it's actually not just a disservice to you, it's a disservice to life because it's waiting for you. And it's going to support you in strange ways when you make that decision. Sometimes I think once you make a decision, that just completely sets the path in motion because everything will adhere to that. When you're kind of, shall I do this? Shan't I do this? That is also a decision. And you're saying no. You're saying no. So if you're preparing to do it, obviously we need to take in real world things, like how to support myself. If you've got a family, how am I going to support them? And of course, put some things in place as well, depending on the setup of how many of you there are in the family, where it's a single household or a dual couple household with children. So you can make a personal plan on how that looks, albeit you can put savings in, like slowly save. You can also slowly begin to do things on the side. And yes, that is going to take a little more exertion from you in the beginning, of course, but that's not going to be forever. My advice is never going to be to exhaust yourselves ever. I hope you that's clear from what I've said before, how relaxation is so important. But there are some points that do require a little bit more push to set that around your own schedule and how that looks. And also, if you make the decision that this is what I'm going to do, then all your other smaller decisions are going to adhere to that bigger plan. And that's why, so my advice is definitely go for it, make a plan to see how that looks, and also prepare, exactly as I said, that things don't happen overnight. So you really need to know yourself to know if you've got that staying power, because things are going to get scary at many different times for different reasons. Like life can be beautiful, terrifying. But just as long as you not even push, sometimes you even just relax into the trust that you listen to yourself and really trust the path that deep inside. We all know it.
Yeah, no, that is great advice. And what advice would you give for someone specifically who wants to do what you're actually doing?
Oh, okay, great. As in product launch.
Yes, and be in the same industry that you're in.
Awesome.
Go down the route that you've gone, basically.
Yeah, so when I'll talk just really briefly on the product development process, but there's typically like 5 main, what I call gates.
Okay.
They can also be called stages. And the first one is start with the market. Like just go out, let's say supplements, because that's what I'm doing, but apply the same to anything, whether you want to create flowers, flower ranges, vases, mugs, anything. So go out into the market, just don't get obsessed with what competitors are doing, but you do need to know the landscape. You need to know who's doing what, the typical price points, and a really good way to do this to start is just look at the big players in the market, have a look at some of the niche lifestyle brands coming through, and then you're going to start getting an idea. You're going to see trends of certain product types that are slightly different but reoccurring, and that's going to start to tell you this, because companies will base this on what customers want, what people want. So when those reoccurring trends are coming through, take note, because that's something being asked for. Then when you're at that point, build in a bit of a gap analysis. So by that, I mean, you can even do it on not very exciting, but a spreadsheet to just write all the different products down, write all their price points down, map out the ingredients so you can see what's going on. And that's also going to paint you a story on what's there. And it's also going to show you what's missing. You're going to see exactly what's missing. And then you can start to say, I've got an idea here. Or you might already have that idea of what the formula, let's say, that you want to launch. And you can see where that could fit within the market. Then when you've done that, you can do a really deep dive into your consumer. You really want to know who's going to benefit from this the most. So in this case, I knew women would be more drawn towards the brand in terms of formulation and design. So really craft out, and it might also surprise you at some point later down the line who comes towards you in your products. But if you've got like that target of who you want to appeal to, and then over time you're really going to get to know them really, really well. And then you're at that point, so you've got an idea of the market roughly. I call it like blue sky thinking. If finance wasn't an issue, sky's your limit. Production runs can do anything that you want. Then you can, like, really best case scenario, design your product. What would you like it to look like? And also, once you've got an idea, you can brief out. If it's a product, you don't have to do everything yourself. I really recommend partners. You can do it in a relatively inexpensive way. There's a website I recommend. It's called 99 Designs. That if you send a brief, lots of different designers can design for you, and then you pick one that works for you. It's fantastic. I really recommend that as well. And once you've got this like idea of best case scenario, what you want, there you go. You can take this piece of paper, find manufacturers that can create the product for you. You don't need to create everything in-house. We have suppliers that I trust so much. We made the choice that all of our products will be made in England, now and always. That's just a personal for our brand. It's not the right choice for everybody. You can outsource from so many different markets. Take that brief that you have and give it to a range of suppliers or manufacturers. And I always recommend that range, because some people are going to be able to do things based on their current capacities and some aren't. And you're going to find that right fit for you in terms of price point, what they can actually achieve, and what they come back with as a reply based that. And then you can choose who's going to create this product for you on a larger scale. Let's say when I was at Sainsbury's or working in food design, we call it kitchen samples versus, it's different when you've got that one product versus 1,000, 10,000 units. And what you want to do is you want to be able to create that quality that you can put in that one product once it's scaled. Yeah. So whichever manufacturer that you feel can do that the best, and again, you'll know that by heart, then go with them. And there's lots of obviously different steps. So that's like the product creation side of things. And of course, the marketing and launch is going to feed into that as well. So obviously one of the benefits of 2023 living is tech is obviously a no-brainer in terms of low cost entry. You can definitely have a website, definitely. It shouldn't just be a social media page if you're offering product. Even if you don't want to directly sell over the website, still have that website, just because I feel you can be far more informative in what you want to say. People will want to read the story, whereas if you just take into mind that social media is designed for the social media creators to keep people on that page scrolling, going through. It's not specifically designed for your brand. So obviously you want to put something in there that stands out, that direct them to where it doesn't, not always directing, it can be directing them to YouTube, or where you can have that chance to go further into the story. It's actually what people want soul, people want depth. We all do, we crave it. Yeah. So that marketing side of things is important, and it's going to be easy for you to do at start. Of course, cutting over the noise is difficult. Mm-hmm. But again, you don't need to focus so much on getting someone could have thousands and thousands of followers, let's say, but the conversion rate could be very low. What you want to do is build a small community even to start that really love what you're offering, and go for that word of mouth. If you've created products that are good, it's going to happen organically, as well as that marketing push.
That is incredible. Look, we have come to the end of this interview. You have given so much insight. This was amazing. So look, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time out, especially on a bank holiday.
Thanks so much for having me. I can't believe how quickly that went.
I know. I could have keep talking. But no, you've been amazing, and I'm sure our viewers will find this so inspirational. There's been so many pointers that you've given. I'm even going to take a couple myself. So thank you so much for joining us, and we really appreciate it.
Oh, amazing. I appreciate you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. See you again. Bye.